I wanted to know where my food was coming from. Less than 1% of the food in Japan is actually organic. Considering a lot of the both environmental issues and then of course the Fukushima nuclear disaster, I was really motivated to grow my own food. We're now able to provide organic food for a large number of customers. I've had several people come to the farm who were so surprised to see so many plants growing in sync. They asked me, why aren't they all diseased? What about the airflow? What about the humidity? I don't know exactly why we can't do that. But our farm is proof that it can work. When we got going in 2011, I was mostly concentrated on revitalizing this place. Our farm was actually an entire citrus orchard. There probably were 200 or 300 citrus trees at one point, but when we got the property, it had been completely overgrown and abandoned. The house on the property was used in the post-harvest for citrus. We renovated it in 2017. When COVID happened, there was a lot of discussion and talk that seeds weren't going to be regularly available to purchase. It got me thinking a lot more about how can we save more seeds on the farm. This is one example of a crop that we save every year. It's an heirloom wheat variety. Well, Showa 25年, about 60 to 70 years old, this tool. We actually use it to separate and sort all of our seeds on the farm, even the smallest basil seed. Because we can control the speed, faster or slower, depending on the seed size, we can separate the seed from the chaff, sometimes the husk of the plant as well. It's tools like these in Japan that are being taken to the dump and destroyed.
At the top part of the farm, Thomas and Kaori are practicing a natural style of farming and planting citrus seedlings to re-establish the orchard.
I mean, clearly the weeds drop and fall on the ground and grow naturally themselves. So why can't vegetables? Natural farming may look like a wild meadow, but actually we've selected which seeds, which crops we want to grow. And this is a big part of natural farming, introducing varieties and planting seeds at the right time in the right sequence, and then knowing when to break them down. We've lived here on the farm for 6 years. Now that we know a lot more about the climate, what we can expect about the seasons, this has helped us to predict what crops are going to grow well and where. We're constantly experimenting, and as we've seen with changing climate, rising costs of fertilizers, if we can concentrate on what's available here and what's available to us locally and what does well, we can really make a truly resilient farm. And that's another side of natural farming. Farming that can really sustain itself on its own. This has been broadcast with rye and peas early in the winter, and we've established this as a cover crop to help us maintain and manage some of the stronger weeds, but then we're also coming through and we're gonna cut this or mow it back, feed it to our animals, and then we're gonna come through and plant our summer crop. And we can actually keep this straw around as a mulch and use that in the summer garden. This is one of our newly planted citrus trees. This area in Hiroshima is very famous for citrus. We put in about 60 citrus trees this year. We put in about 50 last year. We actually kept goats for 3 years on the very top of the farm. They really helped to clear back this very weedy jungle hillside. We continue to expand our fence line, and now we run sheep through the property. And they do a lot of our maintenance, especially for the really intense grasses that come up through the farm. Some of the things we're trying to do to get a more ecological orchard established is by putting in and selecting the weeds that we want to grow on the farm. Some of these weeds actually feed and provide nutrients for the trees themselves, especially when we come through and cut and mow. So we have clover, we have vetch, but we also have a lot of brassicas that are naturally growing to seed here. Because of the layout of the farm, we kind of designed it in a way that the stuff that we're typically growing in a high rotation, like radishes and salad, we're going to be growing down at the bottom part of the farm. This is also where our main irrigation source is too, so it helps for being able to water what's close to the house.
Thomas and Kaori do operate an organic intensive market garden at the bottom of the hill that helps ensure reliable harvest for the CSA boxes. But natural farming practices are at the very core of the operations in the greenhouse, kitchen garden, and this innovative hybrid market garden.
We're doing quick rotation crop production, but at the same time, we're also letting some things go to seed here. What we've also been able to do is establish some cover crops that have actually come back and reseeded themselves, like this white flowering soba you can see here, or buckwheat. And then just below that, the understory next to the ground is 500 salad plants. So By doing this, we get multiple successions in one bed. It adds so much more value, and not only in terms of economic value, but the biodiversity that now exists in this small space is tenfold greater than what it would be if we were just to plant one crop in here. I do find that the stuff that comes up naturally on the farm, that are volunteer plants, are probably the healthiest plants that we grow. They're really pest resistant. The varieties and flavors that come from them are not commercially available. So we get these unique plants that don't exist anywhere but here. This is our kitchen garden. We really have a lot going on in a very small space. And there's probably over 50 varieties like ryegrass, the chrysanthemum greens, this yellow flower's going to seed. We've got kale and mustard greens in here. And just below me, there's about 200 garlic plants. The coriander is going to flower, so we're about to pull off a lot of these seeds we'll take and we'll put in different spices that we make. I really think that these crops don't really compete so much with each other. They kind of are all serving different functions within this space. By coming in and really having no background at farming, we didn't really know how to approach it. But I think that also really helps us to not make any major judgments in the beginning, or say this is how we have to do it, or that's how we have to do it. Not everything is as black and white as good and bad. An example is these aphids that are attracted to this weed. The aphids are only on this plant, but they're not really on our vegetables. And so by keeping some of these weedy crops around, we actually can trap the bugs that might be harmful to the plants we're trying to grow. So this is our greenhouse, our hothouse. Instead of just growing one crop, we've got 3 to 4 crops in one bed. And some of these are volunteer crops that have just gone to seed in the greenhouse. In this bed particularly, there's kale that was direct seeded about 3 months ago, and we've cropped it out multiple times. Cut out a big circle within the kale crop, and then we can put our tomatoes in. Just after this tomato got put in, there was a big crop of turnips that we pulled out of here. And as soon as we took the turnips out, then we also added basil to be a companion plant for the tomato. We also see the elderly population in Japan quitting farming at a pretty alarming rates with no successor in mind. So there's farms just like this all over the countryside of Japan being unused, tool sheds being unused, infrastructure being unused. A lot of people have come to us and said, I don't want to have to cut the grass anymore. Please buy my property. We'll give it to you. Just last year, we were offered a fig orchard with 200 figs on it. These figs are 20, 30 years old, and they don't have anyone to harvest them. The opportunities to get local food is greater than it ever has been. And we need that more than ever. So our farm has established that over the last several years.
Hi, my name is Jakob and I run this channel. If you want to help me make more films like this, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter. The next best thing, watch this one next.